there actually ambulances out there for you guys to be able to get a hold of at a reasonable cost or whatever, and actually be able to then convert these over into homes with the veterans and work with these things.
Rescue Residence, where our vehicles and our participants have lived a life of service. It's our mission to bring them both back to life.
Hey, and welcome to a video series that will probably continue, but this is definitely the very first of its kind. Welcome to Rescue Residence. I'm founder and executive director Daniel Ballou, and what I would like to talk to you guys about today is an idea that came up because one of my board members said they keep getting the question, and I said, yeah, I get the same question too, which is, are there actually ambulances out there for you guys to be able to get a hold of at a reasonable cost or whatever, and actually be able to then convert these over into homes with the veterans and work with these things. And so there's kind of a misunderstanding about the idea that the ambulances are super rare, because we don't see them frequently in our normal lives, right? Because hopefully we don't see too many ambulances unless you're working at a hospital or are an EMT or a firefighter, because generally, the ambulance coming in means it's needing to save someone's life. So that's kind of where I also go towards with the idea, is that that's what these vehicles are intended for. So we want to continue letting them serve that purpose in potentially a second, or in some cases a third life as a service vehicle. So yes, there are lots of ways for us to be able to get access to ambulances at a fairly reasonable cost in most cases, and if we just had the funding, we'd be able to access some of those. So then what the idea became is maybe every once in a while sit down and say, if these are the ones I'm tracking right now and the ones I really wish I could get a hold of and I think would be really great for our program, if only I had the funding and the support to be able to do so. So we kind of let you know what we're looking at and what we're trying to get and how we go about finding some of these. So I'm going to switch screens here and show you a little bit. So there is a couple of different Facebook groups that I'm a part of, and so I get alerts on Facebook when people post new ambulances for sale. So this is one that came up the other day that I think is amazing. For one, it's actually already built out into being a camper van. We're in the early stages here, right, where we're still building the first few that will become more of our on-site, internal to the organization, temporary housing while they're on site, and then building their own that they take with them. So these first few, the participants won't necessarily build and design. This will be ones that me and the team of people who help build these will build and design, and then people will come and live in them while they then design and build their own and go through their training and everything else. And what this provides then is an ability to get some experience over those couple of months while they're getting their training, getting themselves certified, looking for jobs, and doing their job interviews, and also designing and building their own, to experience what it's like living in different build-out types. So we'll put some that are Murphy beds and some that are fixed beds, and this one would be good because it's already built, so we'll be able to get it. And right now what they're asking for is $18,900, and I haven't even had a chance to reach out to this person and find out if they'd be interested in more of a donation concept, or if we'd be able to get it at a different cost since it's going towards a nonprofit. But honestly, even at $19,000, the average I'm looking at when I've budgeted these out to build, so you do a purchase of the ambulance, which I'm going to show you how we can do some of those that aren't already modified, but you go with purchase of the ambulance somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000, 10 maybe to 15. I'm trying not to go that high when we're buying an ambulance we still have to convert, but then another $10,000 to $20,000 to then do the conversion and turn these into a home. And so $30,000 total is expected, kind of just budgeting estimate per vehicle, and to get one in that's already kind of marked out and built out as a livable space for less than $20,000 would be very, very helpful to us. And if I just had $20,000 right now, I would absolutely pick this up. It's in Minnesota, but actually, right, or is that Montana? What's it in? Why can't I think of that right now? Anyways, it'd still mean a flight and a drive. And then we'd need to do rescue residence treatment on it, so get it matching our color themes, and have space for major supporters to be labeled on it, and get it into our brand. But so I get these messages, these alerts, and one of the ones I'm actually working with right now is this one. So this ambulance is actually close, and that's a big part of why I really was interested in going for it. It's right here in Southern California. It's in Corona, which is only like an hour away from us. I'm gonna take a drink of coffee, but it doesn't drive. but I can still get it towed here, and we're talking about basically about $500 probably for a tow. And while it's listed on here at $4,999, I started talking to him immediately, and he's willing to part with it, especially since it's coming to a nonprofit, pretty much at the cost he originally had for it. He just kind of wants to get it out of his hangar space that he has for $3,500. So if I just had the $3,500 easy on hand plus all the rest of the normal kind of project funding I'm trying to do right now, because I'm trying to build us a good foundation, right? I would pick this up in 2 seconds. The conversation he and I had about why the system isn't starting up. One, the place it's sitting at right now took all the batteries out of it. So without fully charged, really ready to go batteries, especially this generation, if you've been watching our videos, you know these deal with some electrical issues, because I've been dealing with it with the one we have right now. It has to have fully charged batteries, so that's one. But the previous user, because the guy that owns it right now, they kind of got it in a different kind of transaction. So when it died, he was driving it and it just stopped. It didn't make a loud sound. Nothing crazy happened. So there's a fair chance that there's a pretty easy fix to the engine, and we have another functioning one. But keep in mind right now, these first few are for us to build out livable spaces to live on site with us and work towards building theirs. So I'm okay with potentially having a couple of vehicles that have really good, and you can tell that the box on this one's really clean, have really good ambulance box space, but don't necessarily have a really great vehicle space, because it could be in one of two spaces. It's either, well, that's kind of dirty, gross, but nothing really damaged on it. You can look and see that it's in pretty good shape. But and he's done a walkthrough with me with video, and it looks good. But the vehicle doesn't have to be one that drives them to their next destination, is what I'm trying to say. If I could eventually get it running so we could take it to events and things, that'd be great. But these will be the first few will probably be ones that stay on site with us for people to live in while they go through the process of developing and designing their own. So it's okay if maybe I end up with a couple that are parked and kind of stay parked for a little while. So this is one example of a Facebook one, and there's one more, and I start talking with them, and I keep talking with them, and I'm trying to work on two right now. So this one that I just showed you before, this one was in Corona, California, so it's close, so I'll literally be able to just tow it here. If it was running, we would just drive down there and drive this thing back. I probably would have done that this weekend. And then I have another one. Okay, so I can't seem to find like the original listing from a guy that I've been talking to for months now, but he has one that's in Minnesota, and he is willing to drive it down to our friends who had our first ambulance, and then they'll drive it to us in California. It's in good condition, drives and runs obviously. They've actually already started the conversion. They've gutted it and started doing insulation, so that's going to be kind of nice to have at least part of the steps already taken care of. And they're only asking $4,500 for it, so again, right there in that mark where it's totally affordable, but this one at least runs and drives. So now it's just a matter of being able to pay them and then get that vehicle down here to Southern California. So one of the things I want to do is just kind of show, this is a different group, and there are several ambulances for sale on Facebook type groups. So this is one that's ambulances for sale, and it's specifically North America. So they end up selling parts and other things in there a lot of times too, but like here's just an example. So this is Ford Econoline for sale, so it's pretty much the standard, same one as the other one. It doesn't say what year it is. Oh, there we go, 97, $5,000 in Atlanta. So yeah, we'd have to deal with transportation. Right now it says won't start. My guess is I don't see it plugged in. And this, again, anything 95 to 2014-ish. The technology stuff inside outpaced the electrical support systems, and generally if you don't keep it plugged in, the batteries die, is what it seems like I'm finding. So it could possibly be a very easy fix, or the starters seem to have issues in these. But either way, that box is in really good shape. Transportation would be a bit to get it from Georgia to here, but we're also working on trying to establish a relationship with shipping companies to maybe transport some of these vehicles for us in order to be able to do the mission that we're doing. But you can see like these have, that's a double listing, there's like a classic one, some cool stuff you can find in these, but the idea being we're working towards trying to build these out. So this is someone, it's close in Temecula, but they're just selling the wheels. I like the ambulance, but they're selling off the wheels that they have there. What else? So here you go, here's Pretty expensive though, $20,000 in New York. Looks like it's probably in pretty good condition. They're still trying to sell it as an ambulance, and honestly, like, these things last forever. So I see why they're doing it. That's why we're trying to use them too. But it is for sale. Then here's the guy selling multiples and listing out the Freightliner one. I would love to see us get a Freightliner at some point. They're extremely reliable, much easier to drive, bigger cab area too, so a little more comfortable of a drive. But so there's some examples of how you can find them on Facebook. Let's take a look at another option. And another option we can do is I get emails. I don't think it's every day, but basically whenever there's new listings, eBay sends me, if there's anything listed as ambulance, it comes up new. So then these auctions start, and we can then do bids. And that's just one example of how we do this. I'm going to show you another one here in a minute, but this shows you a handful of the ones that are currently available for auction on eBay as well. And so here you see like a 2,000, current bid is 3,500, and I can't tell location from the front. Like, that's what's kind of annoying. I would like it if they told me where they were in the listing when looking at them all together. But let's take a look at this one just to see where exactly are they located. So they're in Pennsylvania. So this would again be a pretty hard one to like get shipped to us. Got it back to the original tab there. So just, you can see like there's a ton available, and some of them are more expensive than I would like to budget for us to buy them, but depending on the condition too, it can be very, very good. So here you see like here's a $50,000 one. This is 2014 Ford. This is the 6.7 liter diesel, which is not their most reliable one. So there's a 7.0, I think, is the one that everybody says is really, really great. But in this time frame, the 6.7 is not bad either. So there's an example. I don't really like the van ones. I'm kind of trying to stick more towards the box ones. I don't think once I do a conversion and change these over that they'll look as much like an ambulance. And I do think that the ambulance look is an important part of it. So here you go. Here's a 2004 F350 Super Duty ambulance. That one there, 9,500. So keeping it under 10,000. But again, I think that's where that's a buy it now price. This is even set up as a bid. Be nice, but this is a 4x4. So 4-wheel drive on it. That's kind of a nice bonus. So that makes the price actually worth it too, potentially. So where's this at? This is in Arkansas. So there's another option we can use. We can look at eBay. So eBay auctions come up pretty regularly. I see at least a new one every single week or two. So I see a new one every week, sometimes 2 or 3. But another option is a site called GovDeals. This one always has lots of ambulances for auction because the city and county and other governments that have them know that this exists, and they can auction them off and get a decent price for them. And it lets them basically get the best possible market option at the time. So I've sorted these by the auction close date because that's a lot of times what I'm looking at. Like if I was going to get one, I could get one and do a bid and then be able to look at it shortly. And then start looking at what the bid currently is. And so what's kind of crazy here is the soonest close out is the 10th for any of them. And this is a 2012, which is newer than the one we have. It's a 6.8 liter V10, which means this is the gas engine ones, which a lot of people are saying I need to move towards those rather than the diesels. I haven't driven one, but I could see that being a thing too, because the gas engines are far easier for mechanics to work on. And right now the total bid is only at $1,200. So we could look at this one. That's a good example of what options on here. But look at all these prices: $4,700 for a 2014, also a V10. So this one's a V10. So the first handful of these are all gasoline engines. That's pretty amazing. They're all in Richmond, Virginia. I'm thinking this is probably all the same company posting them. So we got a handful of bids here: $1,200, $4,700, $3,500, and somewhere in that range right there. That's not too bad at all. So what's the newest one? Let's see. They're all, oh yeah, you can tell it is because you got unit 60, 73, 79, 83, 92. So these guys are selling a lot of ambulances. So my guess is they're an ambulance consolidator, and then they put them up for auction here potentially. Or this county, because this is all Richmond, Virginia, is completely replacing most of their fleet, which could be a good opportunity. So let's look at this E450. Let's see, which one do we want to look at? Yeah, I can look, even the paint jobs on them are all similar, so they're probably just coming out of the same area. Let's take a look at this one. So emergency medical services, you can see that it does have a little bit of rust. Let's look at here. These are the areas that rust regularly, right along the bottoms of these doors in steel and along the edges of the wheel wells, but most of that can be knocked off and repainted pretty easily, cleaned up a little bit. So let's see, look at the pictures real quick. This is kind of what I do. I usually go through and just kind of see if there's any major damage that jumps out. Looks crazy, but I doubt it. The GovDeals site is usually really good about it. Looking at a lot of the outside storage most of the time, make sure all the doors are open, make sure that everything looks fine. The tires do look like they're inflated and actually like functional. So yeah, this one, I mean, the bid ends in a couple days, 6 days, 2 days. Yeah, sorry, it's right there. 2 days, 4 hours. I'm sitting there like doing a calculation in my head. Times right there. And it started out at $500. I think they did that for all of theirs, and is only climbed to $4,700. So it probably will jump up a bit in the last day, basically last 24 hours. It's the way their trend on here. But it's not bad. So pretty good options on all of these ones that were listed under this single area. I kind of do want to figure out what government agency this comes from. So the Richmond Ambulance Authority of Virginia. So they probably have a lot of ambulances in Richmond. It's a pretty big city, and my guess is they come on a normal cycle. So this is probably their time to get rid of all of that generation. It's surprising that they have 2010s at all, or 2012 at all, if they're doing the 2014s at the same time. So, but there's an option through GovDeals. There's quite a few on here usually, and this is where we ended up getting our very first one. So let's look at final option, sort of, is a way we could look at getting vehicles. Now, IAAI is a like insurance resale site, so they sell vehicles when they've been totaled, basically, or the insurance company repossesses them or has reasons for that. So this is where we can end up doing that. So most of the time, you're not going to be finding completely fully functional running ambulances here, but what you could find is the same situation I was talking about before, where maybe the van portion was damaged and then the box itself isn't in good shape, so maybe I get some that way. And then another option would be kind of flip those, where we find a similar year and make and model, similar engine and mechanical systems for the van sort of portion or the truck portion of the ambulances, and we could get one of these at a very, very low cost, because through these IAAI purchases you can get vehicles that are really busted and they know it's never going to work out, and you're basically buying it for parts and be able to do repairs and fix up all of our engines. So those are some ways we can get access to stuff. And some of the ones we're specifically looking at, and if we just had the funds, then we'd be able to purchase those. So appreciate your time. Hopefully this was something interesting and something new, and hopefully that helps to answer some of the question of like where would we be able to even find these ambulances, along with the idea that we're working to try to create partnerships with local community fire departments and emergency response companies to see if there's room for them to be able to direct donate as they are retiring their vehicles, rather than putting them up for auction on GovDeals. Is there a process through which they'd be willing to donate? Please excuse the dogs. Thank you very much for your time. Bye. If you're watching this, you're probably already subscribed, but what I'd like to ask is if you like this video, and then maybe share our mission in this video itself with some of your friends and family members, and ask them to subscribe to our channel. While this isn't the primary way we're planning on generating revenue to help support our mission, it is something that I think that will do that eventually, especially if those of us who are in at the beginning really care about this, are able to share it and tell our friends and family about this mission, and then they share it. We all know how this works, but the idea being that we're going to be telling people stories here, and I think it's going to really show exactly what our overall goals and mission are, and be very, very real, and help people realize that this is a problem and it's one that we can work together to solve. So if you can, share this video and like this video, and then if you want to, you can leave a comment about some ideas and things that we should be working on, and how you think you might be able to help us do a little bit better. Or if you have questions, feel free to leave those in the comments of the video as well. And make sure to subscribe. So one of the things we will be doing is needing to do some woodworking to build the internal structure components of it. So Addison from our other YouTube channels, Addison Versus, if you know us from there or whatever, and I have been talking about the idea of setting our own milestones, since Google and YouTube only have a couple of key subscriber milestones, and then building our own YouTube play buttons, just as maker style stuff, either on this channel or on hers. I'm not sure where we'll end up posting the videos, but if that's something you're interested in, help us meet those new objectives. We've pushed past 100 subscribers on this channel in order to allow us to do some of the things we needed to do, which was primarily just to be able to put a better actual URL up there for our channel name. So that means we're going to make one out of wood, because we're going to kind of follow at least at a minimum, the Minecraft progressions in materials kind of concept, and go from there. So we'll see. if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, definitely want to subscribe and make sure you pick up on all these videos. So one last time, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you later.